Welcome back to the Frontline with the Divine. I am your host, Ashton Carney. Today we're going to be talking about how to make a good communion. Why do we fast before we receive the Eucharist? It all goes back to the first centuries where the early church began the practice of fasting. It came from the councils of Hippo and Carthage. By the Middle Ages, the fast had become a well-established requirement. At this time, the rule was for all communicants to not be able to eat or drink from midnight up until the Mass the next day. This was why most people went to Mass very early.
Boy, I'm so hungry. Oh, we ain't had nothing but Maggie bread for 3 stinking days.
Oh, hey, you boys sitting by the fire. It is almost midnight.
What? We have to eat before the fast.
Alright, let's go. Alright.
It has come the time the fast. It is now midnight.
In the morning. What's your problem? Mate, it's almost midnight. Spear, mate. Spear. Come on.
Now, in the 20th century, the fast was relaxed to 1 hour before communion by Pope Paul VI in 1964.
Thank you, Pope Paul, you're so cool.
But seriously, why do we fast? What's the point? The idea behind the fast is to approach the Eucharist with reverence and a spirit of preparation. And by performing this small fast, we remember how we're supposed to hunger for Christ. Guys, we are going to receive the new manna. We're going to receive Jesus Christ himself, the bread of life. We fast from earthly foods because Jesus nourishes us in every way possible. Body, blood, soul, and divinity. We are literally consuming him. In order to receive this amazing, incomprehensible gift, we must prepare ourselves well. So while we're only required to fast from food for 1 hour up until communion, I want to challenge you to go one step farther. Get off your phone. For 1 hour, fast from media, TV, YouTube, Instagram, Reels, Snapchat, anything that's a distraction, and really prepare yourself for the holy sacrifice of the Mass. We must hunger for Christ. So we should give up these things to really focus in that hour for Christ. We should starve ourselves of social media, of distractions. Starve yourself so that you can really focus on receiving Jesus Christ. And it goes without saying that you have to be in a state of grace in order to receive our Lord in communion.
What happens if you're not in state of grace when you receive communion?
You burn eternal suffering. Sorry.
And now it's time for Chris with Chris Claimers, the part of the show where Chris comes out and gives a disclaimer.
Ashton. Now, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Welcome everyone to Chris Claimers. I'm Chris, here to help correct a possible interpretation of heresy. Now, in the previous segment, our dear host Ashton stated that anyone who receives our Lord in a state of mortal sin will suffer in hell for all eternity. This, while it could be true, needs some clarification. While it is true that receiving our Lord in a state of mortal sin does constitute another mortal sin, and all mortal sins are of course punishable by eternal damnation, these can indeed be forgiven in the sacrament of penance by a sincere and complete confession. Therefore, what Ashton stated is not entirely accurate. While we must receive our Lord in a state of grace, and receiving him in a state of mortal sin creates another mortal sin that could send us to hell, we can have this forgiven in the sacrament of confession. Thank you.
If you are not in a state of grace, you must go to confession before you receive communion. Absolutely. No if, buts, or maybes. I do absolute. I'm serious. I'm serious. You have to go to confession before you receive the Eucharist. You gotta prepare yourself well. If you don't, you're not gonna get what the Lord's trying to give you.
Gotta get up. Gotta train for that marathon.
Your man in the skit, he's trying to run the marathon. He has good intentions, but he didn't prepare himself well. So in turn, he couldn't even finish the race. We step foot into Calvary the moment the priest kisses the altar. So necessary for us to be locked in so we can live the Mass well. Jesus is there, body, blood, soul, and divinity. And usually he's been waiting there for you all week. Unless you go to adoration and daily Mass, which you should. Sorry. Jesus longs for you, just as you should long for him. How do you think he feels when you show up unprepared, with all these things running through your head, like politics, football games, or even brain rot? How do you think he feels when you don't live the Mass well?
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming to my party. It really means a lot. Monroe, Nate, Ben. Thanks, guys.
You see how sad the kid in the skit is? This is how Jesus Christ feels times 1,000,000,000,000 when you show up to Mass and you don't even acknowledge him. You're just saying the words. You're just going through the motions. You're not locked in. His love for you is incalculable. He loves you. He misses you. Go see him. So I strongly encourage you to get off your phone 1 hour before Mass. Just prepare yourself, lock in, and live the Mass well. Let us start the 21st century fast and receive our Lord well. Guys, that's all we have for today. So please go ahead, like, subscribe, comment, and share this video with a friend who might need it. And one more question. Do you have the courage to stand on the front line with the divine?